Alrighty, let's go ahead and press on here. Press on like it's cool. Going on to example number 6. We're going to be solving equations that are in the quadratic form. AU squared plus BU plus C. So we're just going to be continuing what we did from last problem right there. Okay, and so what we want to do here is the way that we're going to solve these guys is we first need to do what we did in example 5, which is write it in this form. Okay, and then we're going to solve for u, but then we're going to replace u back in for whatever we substitute u for. You're like, dude, what the heck was, okay, what does that mean? All right, so let me show you what I mean by that, and it's actually not too bad here. So let's first do what we did last problem, which is let's rewrite this in terms of u. And let me just explain. The reason we want to do that is rewrite this in terms of u is because we know how to solve quadratics in standard form. We've learned how to do it by using primarily factoring and the quadratic formula. I mean, we've been doing that a lot in this section. So if you look at this, this has a power 4. We haven't solved power 4, so we're going to manipulate it, write it in terms of u because it's in standard form. Hopefully that makes sense there. That's the purpose of this. It's not just because, oh, let's just throw in this cool wrench right now and let's just do this u thing just because it looks cool. Nah, all right, so we got purpose here, all right? We're taking crunchy things and making it slightly easier to solve. All right, so the way we do this again is we take our first term and we say what squared is going to be equal to x to the power 4. Yeah, we just ignore the coefficient there. So what squared is x to the power 4? Okay, so that's going to be x squared, right? So that right there is going to be our u. So let's rewrite this in terms of u. So that's 9u squared minus 37u plus 4 equals 0. Again, u is x squared. U is x squared. That's why I can replace that with u right there. And the x to the power 4 I can replace with with u squared because x squared is x to the power 4. But this whole thing is u. Okay? So now let's solve this guy. All right, and we can do it by a number of different ways. We can either do it by factoring, or we can do it by the quadratic formula. It could be that this is going to be solvable by factoring, so let's just go ahead and try that. So 9 times 4 is 36. Again, we have to multiply these guys right here. And then we put negative 37 on the bottom. So two numbers that multiply and give us 36. And we add those to get 37. Well, that's just going to be 36 and 1, right? But we want negative 37, so make those both negative. Negative 36 times a negative 1 is positive 36. And negative 36 plus a negative 1 is going to give us negative 37. All right, so now let's complete this by factoring. And remember, the way that we do this is we're going to rewrite this guy. So you write 9u squared. But instead of writing negative 37u, we're going to write that as negative 36u minus 1u. So minus 36u minus u. Okay, so that's the purpose of getting those two guys so that we can replace negative 37u. And then you drop down your plus 4. Plus 4. All right? So let's go ahead now and we do this by solving, or we factor by grouping. So we put the first two in parentheses and the second two in parentheses. And let's factor out the GCF. So what does 9u squared and minus 36u have in common? Well, they have a 9u in common. So that means we'll have a u minus 4. Okay. Now again, this is u minus 4, and this is negative u plus 4. So I want to factor a negative 1 because I want it to be exactly like this. So I'm going to factor a negative 1, and then I'll get positive u minus 4. And I know that's correct by doing this. Negative 1 times u is back to my original. Negative 1 times negative 4 is 4 right there. Okay. All right, since those two guys are the same, I pull that guy out. So that means one of my factors is u minus 4. And then look what I have left. I have a 9u minus 1. So then I have 9u minus 1. Okay, and this is all equal to 0. So now I set each factor equal to 0. So I'm going to set this equal to 0. So u minus 4 equals 0. And set this equal to 0. 9u minus 1 equals 0. So let's go ahead and solve now. I'm going to add 4, add quattro. Those are gone. So u equals 4. Cool. And over here we have add 1, add 1. So 9u equals 1, and then we divide by 9. And we'll get, let me just move this part B problem down a tad bit here. Move that guy down there. Okay, so this guy just becomes u equals 1/9. Okay, so we have our two answers right here. We have u equals 4 and u equals 1/9. However, if we come back up to the problem, solve each equation. Notice that the original equation has x in there. So we haven't solved for x. All we've solved for is u. We're not trying to solve for u. We're trying to solve for x. So watch this hairiness right here. Okay? So we said that u equals x squared, right? Let me look at right here. Okay, u equals x squared. And we got two answers for our u. We got u is 4 and u is 1/9. So watch this. Let's set up two equations again. Okay, so one says u equals 4 and then one says u equals 1/9, right? So those are the two answers we got. But u is x squared. So let's replace the u's with x squareds and then solve for x. So x squared equals 4. Take the square root of both sides. So x equals plus or minus 2. Right? Plus or minus 2 right there. And then coming over here, x squared equals 1/9. So that means I got to take the square root of both sides. So x equals, the square root of 1 is 1. The square root of 9 is 3. But we have to do plus or minus because we did a radical. So check that out. We have 4 answers, plus or minus 2 and plus or minus 1/3. And just a little bit of nerdiness. Actually, in any equation, the highest degree, see how this has a degree of 4? That tells us that we have to get that many answers. And that's why we got 4 answers right there. That's not really part of what we're talking about today, but just a little bit of cool insight right there. It's called the fundamental theorem of algebra. Now we're getting super nerdy right now. And that states that the highest degree or the highest exponent in any equation, really this is called a polynomial, but in any equation, you have to have that many answers. Now when I mean answers, some of them can be real and some can be non-real. Okay, so all that stuff was a lot of nerdiness. If you're like, oh, dude, man, you're like going all like nerdy on us. All right, just don't forget about all that. But you have to know how to solve this right here, okay? All right, let's go and try part B right here. And we're going to do the same thing. So first of all, okay, so we want to write it as au squared plus bu plus c, right? So let's first go ahead and just move this 2 over here. So I'm going to add 2. We want to put it in standard form. So x to the 4 minus 4x squared plus 2 equals 0. All right, so let's replace this so it's in terms of u, because that's going to be a lot easier to solve. So what squared is x to the power 4? And same thing like last problem, it's going to be x to the power of 2, right? So that right there is our u. So let's rewrite this guy in terms of u. So x to the power of 4 becomes u squared. Why? Because this right here is just u. This is u squared. So that's why x to the power of 4 is u squared, right? Minus 4 times u, because x squared is u. And then plus 2 equals 0. Cool. All right. This is not factorable. Trying to multiply to get 2 and then add to get negative 4. Not going to happen. So we got to go to the quadro formula. Here we go. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right. So let's go ahead and plug in our values of a, b, and c. So our value of b right here is 4. Our value of b is negative 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 2, and times 2a, which is 1. All right, let's go ahead and simplify this tamale. So x equals negative and negative, positivo, plus or minus the square roots. Negative 4 squared is a positive 16, because negative 4 times negative 4. 4 times 1 times 2 is 8. So minus 8 all over 2. All right, let's continue on here. So it's 4 plus or minus 16 minus 8 gives us 9 all over 2. Oh, okay. A little bit different than what I got from my our last problem, though. All right, and then this is now going to become, let me see here. Hold on, I got technical difficulties. Techo difficulties. Let's see if I get this to work. All right, sorry about that. Little technical difficulties. Couldn't get the little button to work. All right, so, and I need to change that though, not to 9, but to an 8 right there. All right, so it should be 8. All right, so let's keep going on here. So we want to simplify this to its most simplified form. So we have x equals 4 plus or minus. Let's break down radical 8 as radical 4 times radical 2 all over 2. Okay, so we get x equals 4 plus or minus. The square root of 4 is 2 times square root of 2 all over 2. All right, now that's not simplified to its least way of doing it. So we could go ahead and factor out a 2 on top. So if I factor out a 2, so that means 2 times what is 4? So 2 plus or minus radical 2, because 2 times radical 2 is 2 radical 2. And that's all over 2. And now look at this. Wata. So we get x equals 2 plus or minus radical 2. Okay? Which means that we have two answers for x. Two answers. We have x equals 2 plus radical 2. And then we have x equals 2 minus radical 2. All right, but we're not trying to solve for x, right? We're trying to solve... Oh, wait a minute. Let's come back up here. Oh, snappers. Okay, so we're trying to solve for u, right? We solve for u. Well, actually, we solve for u right now. This is actually u right here, not x. Because x is when you actually plug this back in. So all of these guys should be u. Hopefully, guys, I'm not confusing you guys. Dang. Usually this is when I want to take 2. But, all right, 12 minutes into this video. Dang. Trying to do too many retakes. Because it takes a long time there. But, hey, yeah, so these should all be u. And hopefully that makes sense. Because, look, our equation is in terms of u right there. Okay, so this should really be all u equals, not x. Okay, so this should be u. All right, so u, my pen marker there, u equals 2 plus radical 2, and u equals 2 minus radical 2. Okay, so now what is u? Well, u is x squared, right? That's what we did at the beginning of our problem right here. So right here, u equals x squared. So now let's replace all the u's with x squared. So this right here is x squared equals 2 plus radical 2. And right here, x squared equals 2 minus radical 2. So now if I want to solve for x, I get rid of the square by doing the opposite of squaring, which is the square roots. I know it's going to look weird because we have a radical within a radical, but that's the way this thing rolls. So we have x equals, look how weird this looks, plus or minus the square root of 2 plus radical 2. It has a plus or minus because we took a radical, and there's a radical within a radical. Crazy. And same thing over here, take the square roots. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 2 minus radical 2. So pretty hairy guy there. But again, we get 4 answers. We have 2 answers here and 2 answers right there.